Okay, in this tutorial, we are going to go over how I like to embroider my eyes in general, but specifically then for the Tanya, the T-Rex Sensory Snuggler. So we've got our finished snuggler otherwise. So now we're gonna embroider the eyes. So I like to have my eyes between rows about 8 to 10 of the face, kind of even with those nostrils. And I like to use, I don't have fancy amigurumi sticks. I just use my little knitting needles here. So we're gonna count up row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's row 8. And I'm gonna just place the stick there. It just gives me a little bit of a guide. They're usually about 2 rows tall or so. And I take them out then when I start sewing, but it kind of gives me a guide of where to start so that I know kind of how I want my eyes to look. You're welcome to use, you know, whatever method works for you. I just find that this helps me to make the eyes look as even as possible when I get started. So I've got my little bit of black yarn here for the eyes, and then I've got my little bit of white for the accent later. So I thread it on my little sewing needle, and you're gonna come in initially just somewhere up on the head. And you're gonna come out then at the first stick or your first location, kind of pull through, but don't leave a tail back here, so that's how we'll tie it off later. So I leave a bit of a tail to hide later. So there's my first pass, and then I'm gonna go back down into your first stick there to make that first pass. And I actually like to go over and across then to the next one. Don't pull too tight. And then do my second pass just to make sure that I'm happy with the size of the eyes and things like that. I think that looks decent, so I'm gonna go back in. And you can either choose to do this eye or just easier right now, I'm gonna just go back across. Pull it out. So now I'm gonna remove my sticks and keep working on the eyes. So what you'll do now is we're gonna make multiple passes so that we're gonna make those eyes thicker. Generally I use about 4 to 5 passes, kind of depending on the eye and depending on how it's going with the Bernat blanket, but 4 to 5 is generally what I do. So we're up at the top of that eye. I'm gonna go back down where we came out initially, and then this time I'm gonna come back up the same hole. And that can be a little tricky. I really like these sewing needles. I'll link them in the pattern because they're a little bit bendy and they are sharp, so they get through the stitches pretty well. And as you're tightening it, you're gonna want to place that stitch where you want it. So this one I'm gonna place on the outside. You can see the stuffing likes to come out. I still think it works better to do this after you've stuffed it, because then your head shape's not gonna change a whole lot. And you're just gonna continue in that matter. So here I'm gonna go down this way, same hole. I'm gonna do at least one more pass. So I'm gonna come back up out of that same spot. And just gently pull there. So there's the start of that eye. I'm gonna do one more here, and I think that's gonna be pretty good for now. So I'm gonna go down through this hole, but I'm not gonna come up here. I'm gonna come up over here this time. So down through and then up to the next eye. There we go. Set you down. So there's the start of my first eye, and I like to just kind of pull away some of that stuffing. So now I'm gonna do the exact same thing on this eye. So go down through and back up the same hole. Use my scissors. So I'm gonna go this way, back down, up through the same. And then we got one more pass on this eye to make it 4 passes even. I'm not super happy with where that yarn is coming up out of, so I'm gonna try to fix that. So this is really trial and error. You're not gonna like make perfect eyes the first time you ever try this. I have fussed with this so many times to try to make perfect eyes, and they don't need to be perfect, right? Because this is a nice handmade plushie. So I'm a little happier with that. So this is gonna be my last pass for now. So I'm gonna go down, and then I'm just gonna come up somewhat randomly out the head, because I'm not gonna be done with this black yarn quite yet. I'm gonna do what I need to with the white yarn first. Okay, so there's kind of the start of the eyes. You can see that they're not 100% even, but they look fairly the same size. They don't look too bad. So now we're gonna stop with the black yarn. We're gonna get our white yarn here. And then come through a different spot. So just, again, kind of randomly on the plushie. I'm gonna go in here and then come out at the top of one of your eyes. Again, you're gonna leave a tail to tie off later. It's way more than I really need, but just I wanted to make sure I had enough for you guys. So then we're gonna do the accent on the outside of the eye. So we're gonna put it like that. So I'm gonna go down through, and then I'm gonna try to come up again through that hole. And if that proves difficult, what I'll usually do is just come up kind of beside it to get this part like I want. Again, I'm kind of shaping as I'm pulling. So there's that. And then I'm gonna go down through this same hole so that I can more effectively get up at the top of the eye again. Right there. It just makes it a little bit easier sometimes to shape and then just come back to the top. So now we're gonna make the little pupil with this guy. So what you're gonna do for this is you're gonna go down through the black part of the eye. So that's why I like making my eyes 2 rows tall, because I can go through this middle row within the eye, and it's a little bit easier to get it shaped. So I'm going to pick to come towards the middle part of that eye, and I'm gonna go down between the black passes and figure out where I can get it down into the plushie. So right there, it wants to go down in. I'm gonna come up again, if I can, on the top of the other eye. If not, if that's proving difficult, I will get it close and then edit it later, which that's what's gonna happen because it's being difficult. So I'm just gonna come up. And again, kind of shape as you pull here. So there's my first eye for now. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing on this side. So back through that hole and out through the top part of this eye. Don't pull too hard because you'll end up pulling your pupil there. And we're gonna do the same thing. So this one's gonna get an outer part. Come up, Notice how I didn't even try to go up to the top of the eye this time because it's not behaving. Back down to the top of the eye. And same thing, I'm gonna come into the middle of that eye, towards the middle, because that's just how I like to do it. And find a spot where it wants to go in there. And then for this one, I am gonna come out where I went in initially. So then again, you can kind of fuss with it as you want to make them shaped nicely, but there's kind of the two starting points of both of the eyes. Kind of stick the needle underneath there to get the stitches to lay how you want them to. But then you're pretty much done with your white yarn. I don't tie it off until the very end just to make sure that I'm super happy, but I'm just gonna leave that to the side right now. I'm gonna go back to my black yarn to make the little eyebrows. You could also make eyelashes, things like that with this pattern. I just like to make the eyebrows. So I have it randomly coming out the top here. I'm gonna go back down through that same hole and I'm gonna come out near that first eye a little bit below the top so that I can angle it up like so. And so I'm gonna go, I'm thinking like right here. So it's just a little bit above the eye, a little bit towards the center. And then again, coming across to the other one. And let's see, so I'm about one stitch over. So I probably wanna come out, whoop, probably there-ish. Pull my yarn tail through, cinch that down. So if I wasn't happy with that, I could unthread the needle, I could pull it back through and do it somehow else, but I'm okay with that one right now. So then I just do the same thing on the other side. Probably right there is where I'm gonna put that one. And then I'm gonna go back out where I initially put that yarn in. Oops, there, see, I pulled too tight. If you pull too tight, just kind of thread underneath. And then you can pull a little bit more gently as you want. But so that is how I do the eyes on my snuggler.